People here today.
Hello, hello.
Man, this is exciting stuff. I'm telling you, we have bonus calls twice a month. I think this is going to be our best one ever. So, besides me, who's excited to learn about how to do commercial real estate as a residential agent? Anybody else? David Gonzalez, man. David, how are you, buddy? Take us off mute, Dave. Now, since you look at you guys all monitoring this.
I'm
So,
doing
David,
well. How about yourself, Steve?
I'm doing awesome. I'm
Good to
doing
see you.
awesome. Are you coming out to our event on the 6th and 7th of October?
I don't know. I haven't checked on it, but
You
let me
should
check.
come. Give me a call. Give me
All
a
right.
call. We're going to teach you what you need to do in 2026. So before we get to Paul, for those of you who are in our coaching, I sent you today the new Texas SMS text law, how to pay for the $200 fee you're going to have to pay, how to get certified, because if you're sending SMS texts, and as of September 1st, if you send them to Texas, it is both civil and criminal. And I want you to, we're not going to be negative, but understand if this law flies, and I believe it will, we're going to have all 50 states decide that they want $200 from the million businesses that text. And if anybody is clear how to do math, because Scott, I think you just saw the math, Texas is going to bring in $200 million this year because every single person's paying. So I sent to everybody in Watson Powers Coaching how the law works and how to do everything. I think I covered it all. And you got to do it because your three options are pretend you don't see it till you get sued, quit selling, or pay, because those are your three options. So if you want it and you don't have it, email me at steve@watsonpowers.com and I'll send you the report. It's 3 pages long on how to do it. And there's no getting around this. This is not the DNC where if you call somebody and they complain, you're in trouble. This is if you send the text, you're in trouble. Nobody needs to report you. So let's get that out of the way. I am so excited about today's call. I couldn't even sleep last night. This guy is amazing. He's down in Florida. I've known him for, I think, 5 or 6 years now. When my son and I started a prospecting company, market was so tight. Paul was the only one who could find his place to rent. Now, it didn't work out for us, but it wasn't his fault. It was ours. He knows everything about commercial. I asked him if he would take some of his time to share with you guys on how can residential agents add commercial to their abilities to increase their scope. So, Paul, tell everybody about yourself a little bit, would you?
Good afternoon, everyone. I've been doing commercial real estate for about a little more than 19 years now, and I've seen the market go up, go down, stay steady, and it's been quite a fun ride, and it's probably the most enjoyable thing I do. It's gotten to the point where it's more of a sport and a challenge than a task. That's the best thing I can say. Absolutely love it. I handle through by default. I have by default industrial assets to offices to multifamily to single assets such as gas stations, fuel stations, you name it. If it's not a house, that's what I do. Unfortunately, my mistake over the years is I just don't do residential. So when I obtain a client and they're looking for a house or an apartment and big ones like Brickell, I refer to residential agents because I'm the type of gentleman, I have stayed in my wheelhouse. And but I thoroughly recommend it to anyone. I absolutely recommend it to anyone. Highly recommend.
So,
And
Paul, let's go to the fun part. We all have clients,
mhm,
they have friends, family,
mhm.
associates, or some of our clients also own commercial. So, if a residential agent wants to take on a commercial project, what are some of the things that they need to do to help the client get the exposure and the marketing you would give as a pure commercial agent that they may not be aware of as a residential agent?
Sure, two sides to it. It's the listing side and it's the tenant side. It's the seller side and it's the buyer side. What I found is that most people with some sort of income price point on houses, or even better, They all own commercial real estate. It's part of the portfolio similar to a 401k. When someone moves, I have a network of residential agents here. What I tell them, and it works really well, is when someone's moving, they need three things. They need a store, they need a warehouse, right? Or another freestanding place of business, or they're just going to work from home, but they need a place, right? Unless it's a work from home, most of them are entrepreneurs, or their boss or the company moved and a house might be sold to a manager, a regional manager. They need that product in some sort of relocation. Now, relocation aside, what's the other thing? I say expansion and contraction, which means you could have an existing company that needs to expand into more space, additional locations, or the opposite, which is contract, which says they're currently in 20,000 square feet, they're paying X amount of dollars, it's out of budget, and they want to reduce. Now I'm on both sides of a transaction which says, I'm going to sublease you 20,000 square, and I'm going to find you a new 10,000 square foot location. It just works absolutely beautiful. And do several of those. So it's not a single dip, it sometimes becomes a double dip, you know.
So, Paul, you've had residential agents write on your commercial leases and your commercial properties. Fair statement?
Very fair. That's what yes, very fair.
Would you be kind enough, and you're one of the nicest guys I know, so it's going to be hard. I
Appreciate
don't
that.
want you to disparage anybody.
No,
Because honest to God, when you
no,
know even though every doctor is allowed to do heart surgery, they shouldn't. And
right.
so even
Understood.
though residential can do commercial, depending on the complexity of it, guys, you got to be comfortable with your liability. So, what are some of the things you see that residential agents do right when they write a contract on your commercial properties? And what are some obvious mistakes that residential agents do when they write a contract, which immediately lets you know, as the commercial broker, this guy doesn't know what he's doing, or worse, the clients recognize they don't have the right agent? Could you share those two sides of
Sure.
the fence with us?
I don't want to start with a negative, but it's easier to for everyone. The negative is recognizing that a person, a broker, an agent, what have you, is inexperienced in commercial. The giveaways are leasing is triple net. So what is triple net? What is CAM? Common area maintenance, operating expenses, real estate
Hold
taxes.
on, go slower because we want to write this
I'm
down.
sorry, I
I
apologize.
know. The problem is Paul's like, we talked a couple of days ago and he goes, how much can I train? How much can I teach him? I'm like, man,
Okay.
you got to meter it out slow, Paul, because these are
So
residential. So
I
they
apologize.
have to understand triple net lease. They have to
Triple net
understand
lease, right?
CAM.
Understanding the CAM, which is common area maintenance. Understanding, as crazy as it sounds, the rates. How competitive a market are you in? Is it a landlord market? Is it a tenant market? Is it a seller market? A buyer market, right? You will have some lowball offers, and right away that's a giveaway. But the other thing which is very important is the presentation of the offer. What does that mean? Commercial doesn't have the click MLS forms like residential does. We don't have that click, let's go do it. I'm going to make an offer to purchase.
What you mean is they don't have the fifth grade paperwork that residential
Right,
agents need.
exactly. And so I suggest to everyone, and I could share at some point, it's really as simple as this. What do the big guys do? And what do I mean by the big guys? The national real estate companies. What do they do? How are they projecting their offers? How are they projecting their acceptance? And most of that, and we're so blessed to have this internet. And I wound up adopting the elements of I don't call them competition, I call them colleagues. My colleagues, and I look at one, two, or four, and I blended my own. And it's the offer presentation, it's the offer acceptance, and even into negotiation. The big giveaway, always remember this, the biggest giveaway to identify a residential agent is, what is the commission? I can't tell you enough when an agent, anyone asks, what is the commission? My interest level on the if I, what on the transaction depletes. It's like taking the air out of a balloon. The reason is there's a variable rate in commercial real estate. So when they're
So hold on,
asking,
Paul.
I'm sorry.
Guys, I want you to listen what we're trying to have you with. When you call a commercial agent, you immediately say, what is the commission? He knows that you're not aware how this game is played, and you're about to lose for your client. Because if you are a professional agent, and all you guys are, and you have an agent who comes to you and says stuff that's stupid, you immediately know that you're going to get a better deal for your client. So if you're representing the buyer and you say to Paul, hey, Paul, I'm working with a buyer. They want to buy your commercial property. What's the commission rate? He knows through
Oof,
superior skills and negotiation, your buyer's paying more and his seller's winning. And
dude,
your buyer's going to recognize that you don't know what you're doing. I just want to let this see it's
yeah,
these sub steps, Paul, that I want them to learn. Yeah.
I understand. I understand. That's a big giveaway. I don't think I should dig in this moment of the variable rates of commission, but understanding what is important at a stage of the transaction is commission agreement. And that's a simple one-page form, just like everything else. Who's paying the commission? What is the rate? Is it based on, if it's a lease, is it based on the gross amount, which means the base rent plus the operating expenses, or is it paid just on the base rent? Same thing. What is about options to renew? Okay, so if it's a lease, are you getting paid on the option to renew? Those happen to be, for me, renewal options, gravy money. I'm not going to disclose, but if I do, for an example, a 3-year lease on a tenant or a 5-year lease on a tenant, that tenant goes into my CRM with a date, with an alert, and 6 months prior to, I'm contacting my client, that tenant, and say, hey, do you want to stay or should I find you alternatives? Hand to God, I'm involved with a transaction right now. The initial rent was a sublease at $27,000 a month. It's in Fort Lauderdale. The new rate with the landlord jumps to $52,000 a month. So do the math on a tenant that I don't have to work. I have to call a representative of that building whom I know, we've shared checks before, and shuffle some emails and shuffle some phone calls. And so you have to go back and watch your commission agreement and also attempt to include yourself in the future. Because unlike a house sale or a property sale, which is definitive, a beginning and a close, an end, leasing offers those renewals. The major companies like CB Richard Ellis, JOL, Newmark, Colliers, Cushman, and Wakefield, a great percentage of the leasing reps' money is made on lease renewals. And I can really get down that road, but not necessary at this point. But why is it important to identify a commercial agent versus a residential? In a tight market, I happen to be in South Florida, and there's tight markets throughout the nation. Ease of the transaction. Is the buyer qualified? Is the tenant qualified? Are they going to give us a hard time throughout that process? Versus, I'll deal with a broker who I know or a broker who has knowledge, and I'll run that deal through as well. There's a misconception. There's the concept of fiduciary position to the client. We all recognize that. I recognize that. The street says this: there are more clients than there are properties in commercial. So one office building, one industrial property or asset or what have you, there are less owners of that than there are tenants. So although you may represent the tenant, you want to be able to stay within that property long term, that broker long term. So you walk a fine line with the fiduciary, because I might have an offer for $1 more from a residential agent, and I'm looking with the landlord, I'm saying, listen, this is what's going on. This is the issues. Why don't we just get this other offer up $1.50, $1, or match it? because I know we're going to get to a finish line better. I know with the commercial agent, I have financials behind it, which says what's the qualifications of the buyer, what's the qualifications of the tenant. It's critical in the presentation, not to overdo it, not to scare anybody. It is critical in my
And
opinion.
so let me kind of bring this to a residential term, because
Yeah,
here's what Paul is telling all of us, and that's what I love about him, is that if you don't know how to represent your client, the commercial listing agent is going to know that and may try to get the property leased or sold to somebody where they don't have to do all the work and do all the liability. This misconception is, I've got a $4 million buyer, they want to buy a commercial building. Can I sell it to them? Of course you can. But are you doing a great service for them if you don't get the contract ratified? Conversely, I will tell you this, that I wouldn't want to negotiate against Paul if I'm a residential agent and I put up a commercial building for $5 million thinking I can take care of it. And then Paul writes the contract on it and he writes himself all the future incomes because you don't know about it. And next thing you know, you get yourself your 1% because you're trying to break in the commercial, and you get yourself your $50,000 on 5 million, and Paul is pulling 5, 6, 800,000 out of it because you thought you knew enough. Let me tell you, when you go to negotiation with someone like Paul, it's like going into a divorce. Whoever has the better attorney gets all of the money for the client.
that's right.
Just because you're an attorney doesn't mean you're going to get your client the best. So, Paul, let's switch gears for a minute.
Sure.
One of the things that I do, and I'm sure you do because you're elevated way above me, is when somebody approaches me and says, Steve, I got a great investment for you. Tell me about it, because I listen to anything.
Sure.
They go, oh, it's A, it's B. And the more excited they get, the more I realize it's not a great investment. Because when you have to have excitement to sell a commercial,
Right.
that means the numbers aren't there.
Right.
Okay, right, Paul? The numbers are the numbers. If you want to get Paul excited, you give him a cap rate of 11.9. That's better than this month's Playboy. Okay? So you want to get somebody who knows what they're doing with commercial, it's the cap rate. Paul, I say to an agent who comes to me with a great deal, what's the cap rate? And if they go, it's I have it in my file, that means they don't know how to figure out the cap rate. Paul,
Right.
as a commercial agent, when an agent can't figure a cap rate, what's your immediate thought?
Good luck. I don't, my immediate thought is, I don't know how they got XYZ client with X amount of dollars interested in a commercial property and they cannot figure out a cap rate. The client must be a friend or a family member of that agent, right? What's important to note, I see a lot, because in cap rates, you're dealing with investment, not a non-owner occupied. It's a non-user. I'm not buying a building for my widget manufacturing. I'm buying it because I want a return on my investment. The misconception is, I have clients, and I'm blessed to be in South Florida where we're dealing with extremely large numbers, right? Millionaires, billionaires on my phone, and you say, oh, it's just da 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 da. I always remember that person does not has not made the money without being wise, right? It's a return on investment. If not, if the property is not good, go buy tax-free municipal bonds, and they do that. And they have their CPAs and their investment, and they do that. So what I show is a cap rate, which is a guide. You'll see a cap rate of 6%, 5%, 7, 8. A cap rate does not guarantee, it's not the return of investment, which means when you see a cap rate say it's a 7 cap, oh, I'll make 7% on my money. No, no, they're not. And the reason they're not is very simple. Are they paying cash, or they have debt service as a mortgage? What are the terms of that mortgage? What is the interest rate? So that's affecting their bottom line, which affects their cap rate. So a cap rate is important to note. It's a guide, it's a quick service guide to determine if it's a reasonable deal that they want to invest in. Very similar in residential. I have a 1% rule. 1% rule is a $500,000 house should rent for $5,000 a month. If I can't get $5,000 a month, it's not for me. You can break down all the math, go through the math, go through everything, and you will find 1% a month is a point a month is a residential guide for a price of an asset, right? And I'm not here, again, I don't do residential, but in my personal investing, that's my quick guides, not to divest. So cap rates are just a guide, right? How do you do it? It's a very, very, very simple thing. We call it a net operating income, which is a fancy word for how much money does the building or property make in a year, less expenses. So if the property brings in $1 million a year, the expenses are taken out: real estate taxes, insurance, fire systems, landscaping, roof maintenance, everything. So let's say they're left over with $700,000. What's the value of $700,000 in income? And so what we do is we take the 700,000, I'll divide it, and that's the key. You divide it by, if it's 6 cap, 0.06, or divide by 6%. It's going to give you a value. I'm going to go on next level. If we all got that concept, your net income divided by the cap rate you're targeting to acquisition or disposition, right? Okay. I'm going to give you one really fast example of truly how to make money for your clients, right? If
So
you
Paul,
have,
hold on one second,
go
please.
ahead.
I'm not going to ask you if you have any questions. We'll save that at the end. But your net operating income really has 5 parameters, if I remember correctly. It's the property value, it's the or the purchase price, the operating expenses, your insurance, all that maintenance. You have the vacancy or credit loss. You have other income, which accounts if there's laundry on the facility, if there's extra paid parking, and then there's the gross rental income. And guys, I'm telling you this, if you understand the basic 10 things about commercial, you can get through the phase 1 with anybody and be a great commercial agent. Not at Paul's level, but you at least represent your seller, your buyer, and the negotiation better. If you can't figure out cap rates and net operating incomes, you shouldn't be in the game because you're a chiropractor doing heart surgery. Just because you go by Dr. Powers doesn't mean you should operate on people. You're going to hurt people investing. Okay. Sorry, Paul. I want to understand
No,
that
it's
they got to
okay.
know cap rate. They got to know what NOI is because those are the building blocks of investments.
I find that in my career, you have to add value to a client, right? If you're an order taker during a foreclosure mess doing residential, great. Now you have to add value, right? So I'm going to give you the quickest thing to add value to any of your clients buying or selling. It's get an extra $100,000 net operating income on the property. Now that sounds like a lot. So we're talking about $8,000, $8,200 a month, and I'm talking from my head on that. But if you get $100,000 of income, and if you divide that by 6% at a 6 cap, it adds $1.6 million of value to the property. So if you take $100,000 divided by 6, if you go 100,000 divided by a 7 cap, I added $1.4 million value to the property. So now, who's that client calling? They're calling me. What's the next deal? Now, if you want to get crazy, if I add $1.4 million and I'm making 3%, just by guiding this gentleman to get extra income here, there, rate bumps, lease bumps, that gives me an extra 42,000 in commission. Just
You
because.
guys hear that? By helping the seller get a better cap rate legally, not fudging the books, by helping the seller get legally a 1% cap rate on this fictitious property, it's another 42,000 because Paul, in a few minutes, knows what to do. You know, I got to tell you, for the last couple of years, I've been trying to get Paul to come coach for us, and he said no. But I think he'd be a great asset to have as a coach. But
Thank you.
honest to God, you guys hear the money that's available by doing commercial when it becomes available, but you got to know how the game is played, right,
Yeah,
Paul?
exactly. We all see properties value add. If I was to if I was to take value add, that's a key word. That's what you have to do on the buy and the sell side with, in commercial. Value add, if it was residential, it's looking at a 3-bedroom house and say, I can do an addition and I'm going to convert that house to 4-bedroom and I just added value, right? On a commercial asset, I could add value by getting a credit tenant, which means a tenant that, has credit, publicly traded, or of substantial existence, right? I could add value by increasing the rents as the leases expire. So I can go from what's known as legacy rents, someone that leased a property 3, 4, or 5 years ago, or month-to-month rents, and I can put them on normal leases, 3 to 5 years, some 7 years. I could look at an asset and I could say, oh, we can generate X amount of dollars by parking trucks, vehicles, boats in the back of the shopping center or warehouse. I could look at a property and say, hey, there's an out parcel here. Why don't we do X, Y, and Z? I could also look at a property on a vacancy and increase it based upon usage. What does that mean? Well, before there was a dry cleaner in there, and now we want to give it to a daycare operator. Why a daycare operator? Because they're stable, because the cost of kids are extremely valuable to the parents. They're not going anywhere, right? So that's just a few examples of how what you look to value add a commercial asset. Your client is going to love you. What else you got? I'm sorry, I'm half street, half corporate. Paul, what
Well,
else?
I got to tell you,
Yeah,
I,
yeah,
one of the things I appreciate about Paul is he said to me something, every square foot has to make money.
yes.
And Paul, you have that beautiful property that you allowed us, Watson Powers, when we first started out to use. We used your cubicles.
Mhm.
The area behind is a bit industrial. There's a big parking lot. And you said something interesting. Because there's a big old parking lot. It goes forever. And, I said, Paul, what's over there? Do you remember what you rented those spaces out to?
We charge, I'll give it to you straight. We charge $10 per linear foot for semi trucks, box trucks, RVs, and we generate approximately $12,000 a month, I believe. Right now, we generate 12,000 on unused portion of the asset a
So,
month.
guys, I want to make sure you understand. If you're
Yeah.
looking at the screen and you see a bunch of people here who are monitoring the call, which happens all the time, if we go to Ashla and Peter down Swales, who are on the bottom of my screen, that area was empty in his parking lot. So he rented it out for $10 a linear foot to trucking companies.
Mhm.
Because as most of you know, American truckers can only drive so many miles a day, and there's only so many spots at a rest area. And the trucking companies hire companies like Paul, well, he's on this side, and they rent that space so when their truckers can't find a place to stay, they have a place at Paul's. Low maintenance, $12,000 a month for what is back corner dead parking space that you
Right.
would never use for the facility, the building. This is why I love this guy. Every square foot has to try to make money.
Yeah, I was taught in commercial, if you own, well, I take it from the owner's position, right? Your product is 4 walls and a roof or dirt. That's what your product is. You can take the fancy of shopping centers, malls, office buildings, does not matter. You're offering 4 walls, a roof, and dirt. And dirt, I say, is land. That's my way I express it. Uh, you get paid 365 days a year, including Christmas and every holiday. Uh, it is truly, truly, truly the best business that I found from the brokerage side. Uh, it's something I do recommend. Don't be intimidated. That's the other thing. Please, I mean, I pay it forward with a lot of residential agents, and I say, first thing is zero intimidation. Imagine you're a teenager asking the girl or the boy to dance. Get over it. Make the phone call, right? Get over it. Now, the second layer is we all have the internet. I can right now get a professional letter of intent that somebody scanned. 4 or 5 versions that someone scanned is all over the internet. And again, create your own. Look at Grok and look at Chat and say, what are the steps of a commercial lease transaction? And you'll see it. The big thing is not to get too far advanced right now is standard lease agreements. There's no such thing as a standard lease agreement. Again, do not be intimidated. It's something lawyers put in their standard lease. Nothing. Toilet paper. Remove that. I mean, it's obviously left in, but it's not bad. But there's a few nuances to look out for, and there's certainly checklists that I reference. All commercial deals like people. We all have a skeleton, 2 eyes, a nose, and a mouth, and 2 ears, and we hope they work. They look different. That's the key. They look different. They function of different quality, but Lord willing, they have the same result. That's what a commercial transaction is. They all have the same skeleton at the end of the day. So there should be no intimidation factor. None.
Let's shift gears for just 1 second.
Sure.
I recommend that when an agent has a commercial property that a seller wants to sell and it's above their pay grade, meaning they can't afford to learn on the first transaction and hurt the client.
Right.
I recommend that they partner up with an actual commercial broker and some sort of referral fee so that the client gets the best service, the best exposure, because every one of you guys are in an MLS, but how many of you are a member of LoopNet or CoStar and other places that commercial properties are represented? So if you're not taking your seller's property and putting it into 2 main commercial places, are we really doing a great job for them?
No.
And so then everybody says, well, I'll just join those. Well, Paul, what's it cost to join those 2 wonderful organizations a year?
It's absolutely critical. CoStar is $550 a month, $550 a month per seat per license. And then they give breaks at a certain point, a certain number of agents. I'm speaking from the broker side. So to me, it's fuel to the car because there's also LoopNet. Now, the main company, CoStar, owns CoStar, LoopNet, apartments.com, homes.com. They're a conglomerate. What's very important to note, 60%, 60% of the commercial properties listed and available are not on LoopNet. They are on CoStar. Every CoStar rep will tell you that. I have on CoStar a search feature that says, show properties not available on LoopNet. Simple. What does that mean? It's huge. The way I took that was, hey, let me only show those properties to my client because I will get, let me give you an example. Steve Powers wants a widget, a place for his widget company. And Steve searched LoopNet and he says, Paul, check this out. Paul, check this out. I already know it's garbage he's sending me because LoopNet is a lead generation. It lost its way. I now send Steve Powers properties that are on CoStar that he does not have availability to. However, I go one step further that my colleagues do not do. I do not send them a report. I do not
Why
send
don't you
them a CoStar
okay,
report.
so everybody sends reports to prove how smart they are. Why do you not send reports?
I copy paste the picture and I write a brief description, square footage, price, location, and brief terms. I put it on a PowerPoint because, Steve, I did this for you. Because if you're coming in with X amount of dollars to purchase, X amount of dollars to lease, I'm not the same schmuck that's just sending out another report or clicking buttons. So I have to separate myself as a broker from the crowd because when I'm dealing with 5-6 figure type monies on commissions, hey, is this guy worth myself spending 30, 45 minutes of converting a report to make it specifically for you? Darn right. And at the beginning of my career, that was my night job. My day job was working customers, searching the properties, come home, the kids, the school, the homework, dinner, done. And it was just converting my searches into PowerPoints. So the first week, by the second week, I would just crank them out. And my closing ratio was 1 out of 3. In other words, 1 out of 3 customers, clients, leases that I touched that called me, I closed. Not that we, not to speak quickly. Closing means I didn't speak with them. No, they converted their money, their closed lease into cash for me. And my ratio is 1 out of 3. And I really conclude the 2 secrets are CoStar properties that are unavailable to the average consumer. 2, do not give them a CoStar report. You're facing a crowd. Spend the time to convert it. Now, it did get to a point when I'm doing 40, 60 leases a year, I hired somebody and I hired an agent. And the agent would give me the options. And I look at the options. Either I say, A, that's it, or perfect. Just reduce this to 6. And here's the, make this out to so-and-so, and here's the client info. And all I do is I'll put Steve Powers and his email, and that was my header. And then everything is just, let's go through it. Ultimately, I'd say, Steve, did you review it? Great. What do you think? I like option 2, 3, and 6. Perfect, Steve. Let's go see options 2, 3, and 6. There's no sense you lose clients. You drive around 30, 45 minutes sitting in traffic. They're on their cell phone to show them properties that they're not interested in. They're not interested.
What you said was so important, Paul. Please understand, everybody, that residential real estate is a logical decision based solely on emotion.
Right.
I need a house for my family, but I want a 3-car garage. I've got 2 kids, but I want 5 bedrooms because I want a second master bedroom where my mother-in-law visits once a year. I also need it to be bigger than my brother's house because I need to show off, and I need to have it here. It's emotional. Commercial has a little bit of emotion, but it's all logical because when they're taking their hard-earned money and deciding where to put it, it's ROI that all that matters, except for a Trump Tower, so his name is on it. They don't care on those 3 towers behind Paul if they own 1, 2, or 3. What they want is whatever one makes the most amount of money. And by providing this report that Paul just talked about, you're showing that you understand a logical, analytical way, and without using a CoStar report, you're showing how you're adding value to the relationship.
100%. 100%.
So we got 2 companies left. Residential agent has $500,000 to invest.
Mhm.
They're not going to sell it. What's the first thing you would have them buy with $500,000 as an investment with their hard-earned money?
500,000 cash or
They
500,000?
have 500,000 cash. They can go borrow $2 million on it. What would a residential agent buy as their first commercial that's solid, strong, and a solid investment?
Simple. The first thing I hear is when I have 500,000 cash, that's a $2 million sale. Right there. Boom. Because 25% down on commercial loans. So I can take the leverage times their cash times 4. That's the quick math. 500,000, I'm selling them a $2 million property. Now I'm going to reverse it. What's your appetite? Right? Steve, what is your appetite? Are you a landlord type? Do you feel more confident in multifamily? Do you like the apartment sector? Do you like the retail sector? What about Steve? I got something great for you. There's a Bank of America triple net deal that's being sold at a 6.5 cap for 2.3 million, whatever the numbers are. What's your appetite? So it's an open-ended question, but right off the bat, 500,000, $2 million deal, stretch it a little bit. They always find the money. And are they how do I say, a hands-on landlord or a hands-off landlord? Do they have money for improvements? Do they need a turnkey? And then that's how I do it with clients. I qualify the client. I mean, I could qualify you, in theory, with a few answers, I could qualify you. And okay, well, now I know what his appetite is. okay? And once I know his appetite, Steve, this is gonna be a process. I'm gonna put the options in front of you. Let's go have fun. Then the other thing is, when I put the options in front of you, what's the offers? Within what range? 10% below ask? 5% below ask? Do you give them the full ask? Do you go over? Depends upon how you analyze each transaction and the appetite of the seller.
But to
But
be fair to say
yeah,
that most buyers who buy a property that isn't in their best monetary interest is because they made an emotional or an ego purchase.
completely emotional purchase. I Any of my tours, when it goes south, I go to a tour and we're on property number 2. Tora is the word we use for showing. On property 2, it's 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 dog poo. It's not going well. And I walk in and I'll say, Steve, if this place makes you money, do the deal. If it doesn't, let's go. There is zero emotion. There is zero emotion. You don't get that. I'm going to talk to the family. I have no husbands, kids, schools, HOA associations, paint colors. Yeah, we paint, not an issue, but we don't have the same emotions in it. So it's important in client retention, very important client retention and referrals. It's just get to the point. You're doing real life monopoly, trading properties, leasing properties, selling properties as if it is a game. And and it goes back to at the very beginning of the Zoom, I said, to me, it's a sport because I talk to clients like that. I don't put on a charade. I don't need to put on a suit. There's nothing wrong with it. What I'm saying is I speak to them on their level. I'm a chameleon. If they're a multimillionaire, I down myself. If they're a billionaire, I down. It does not matter. I am subservient to the client, but I got to provide enough knowledge to the client. And there's that fine line that you walk, right?
Yeah.
Give them the knowledge that they would get from a publicly traded brokerage company. Those guys, those reps. But they don't want those reps, or they would be with them. They don't want the suits. This is mine and I'm divesting. I fill that gap for the investors or landlords or tenants that don't want the suits. And it
Because in the
works
end,
really well.
it's a belly to belly business.
Yeah, yeah,
If they can trust you, they'll work with you. And if we look at those 3 pictures behind Paul,
yeah,
the people that own those floors or those buildings hang around with other people that own buildings. And so
mm,
if you can get into this space and do it correctly and make a couple $100,000 on a deal, well, they have friends that want to move up, move down.
yeah.
It's a wonderful relationship. Paul, I extended past your time because you said I'd give you half an hour. I know you make
Worries.
literally thousands of dollars an hour, so we can't thank
Good.
you enough. Do you have a
Thank you.
minute or two if somebody has a question either in the chat box or by person? Does anybody have any questions for Paul? We got it all figured out. Anybody in the chat box? Well, this is everybody's always nervous. So, Paul, I want to thank you enough for coming on
Thank you.
here.
Thank you.
I have Paul's information. I'm not going to give it out to you. You call me if you had a question for Paul because I know how much this man makes an hour.
I
And
have a question, Steve. Is
oh,
that okay?
thank you, Paul and Steve. Thank you, Paul. Yeah, of course, Cynthia. I can't thank you enough, Paul, because what I wanted today, and you did a great job, was I wanted everyone to crack their noggin a little bit to realize this isn't brain surgery. This is something we can all handle. We need to know the beginning vernacular and we need to have baselines. So when we bring in a contract to someone of Paul's stature, they don't think we don't know anything and then we lose a lot. So,
Great.
Paul, any last 1 sentence word you want to give these wonderful folks? Because we're going to put this on YouTube. Most of our clients can't make it on Thursdays. Most of them are making money. We got a client, and I won't mention her name. She just put a contract on and accepted contract on $177 million property.
There you go.
And we have another one that sent me a wonderful testimonial. I've been coaching him for 5 months. And today he listed his 316th property in 5 months.
Wow.
This will be sent out to all our clients, Paul, so don't be surprised. Where do you get your leads when you're starting it? Okay, Coke from Las Vegas. And I got to tell you guys, if you ever want to meet the nicest person in the world, this guy, Coke Sarma, honest to God. So Coke asked, Where do you get your leads for yours? There's your question.
Me, I go fishing.
What does that mean?
I put 100 fishing hooks in the water. It's a simple concept. And my colleagues do the same thing. Unlike residential, where you have to show a property that belongs to a listing agent, I could put out 10,000 square foot, three-phase electric, dock height doors, centrally located, X, Y, and Z. I load that into social media. I load that all over the internet and existing client lists, and I put 100 fishing hooks in the water. Okay, and that's just a short part of it. I personally share the secret with you guys. I personally invested in developing an app in which we can write one ad and it automatically posts in every social media you have out there and automatically post onto my websites. And I am inbound, not outbound. A lot of brokerage companies are outbound. What do I mean by that? Is get a job, you get an agent, you sit, and it all happened to us, happened to me. Here's your desk, here's your business cards, and I get a pat on the back and say, show up for the Monday meeting. Well, I have profanity in my head when that happened to me, and I can't say it here. Then I realized many years ago, I need 100 fishing hooks in the water. And that's what I do. And it's been very successful, extremely successful. But for me to really dive into detail, I don't think this is the appropriate manner.
It's not, but
You
again,
have to get it out there, right? You
yeah,
have to get
so
the
Paul, don't be
product.
surprised when I call you next week
Yeah.
and try to bug you again about coming to work for our company and taking a few of our clients, because I think without a doubt they move into your space, they'll make hundreds of thousands, not millions, because there are very few people like you that know how to do the job, also know how to train. And
Yeah.
that's why I asked them, because I know
Right.
lots of commercial brokers and it's like licking paint.
It is.
They're so dry they should work at NASA. Okay.
It
But
is.
the world needs people like Paul. He has a character, he has a personality, but he also has the brains. The personality gets the appointment, the brains gets the client. So, Paul, on behalf of everybody, Aaron, we didn't have
Thank you,
time for your
everybody.
question. Thank
Yeah,
you. I kept you way over your time. We
just
owe
felt
you
fun.
big time. Thank you.
No
Thank you.
worries. All the best. Have a great afternoon. Thank
Bye,
you.
guys.